Hi, it's Brooke Castillo, Master Coach Instructor and founder of the Life Coach School. I am going to help you distill down my decades worth of research that I have done on the human mind and that I have done on effectiveness when it comes to living our lives in the way that we want to live. What I discovered long ago was that the way we think determines how we feel and how we act. And of course, how we act is what produces the results and the effects and the life that we have. So step one always has to be evaluating our thinking. How we think in our brain and how we interpret the world is really one of the most important skills that we can have. It's not even the skill of thinking properly, it's the skill of understanding how we're currently thinking. We mostly go through our lives believing our thoughts. We think that what we think about is just the truth. We don't recognize that we're constantly interpreting and making meaning out of what we see in the world. What I want you to become more aware of, what I want you to understand, what I want you to experience is the truth of how you think about yourself. And it's actually a very simple exercise. But what I want to point out is anything you tell me when I ask you that question is simply a thought, which means it's optional, which means it's changeable, which means you can write that script however you want to write it. You can define yourself however you want to define yourself. I want you to write a list of the 5 things you would tell me if I asked you to tell me about you. What are the truths about you? Who are you? And don't feel like you have to say just positive things. Say, this is just how I am. This is who I am. This is what I've done in my life. This is what I've created. Whatever comes to your mind. Now, when you look at that list, what you're going to see is what you believe is true about you. And what you believe is true about you is what you will feel towards you. And what you feel towards you is going to determine what you do for you. And what you do for you is ultimately what you create in your life. And what is true is every time I do this with someone for the first time, they find thoughts that they have about themselves that are hurting them, that aren't true, that they weren't even aware of. Thoughts like, well, I'm just not good at that thing, or I just don't matter that much, or I'm just not capable, or that's not possible for me, or that's just the way I am. And when we're able to uncover those, we're able to change them. We're able to turn them into something that is much more powerful and much more positive feeling generating and ultimately better result producing.
This is the model. This is like the most amazing thing I can give anyone. This is the only thing you will ever need to change your life. I'm telling you, one thing I could teach you about all of mental health. This is the one thing. It doesn't matter what the situation is. It's always your thoughts. Let's go through really quickly the model and what it represents and what each one of these things represents, because there's nothing in the world that can't fit into the model. No matter what problem you have, any problem in the universe will fit in here. It's either a circumstance, a thought, a feeling, an action, or a result. What is a circumstance? A circumstance is a fact that everyone would agree is a fact. Anything that happened in your past, anything back there is a fact. Your opinion of what happened in the past is not a fact, but what actually happened is a circumstance. Other people's behavior and what they do, not your opinion of what they do, but what they do. Thoughts are sentences in your brain. They are the cause of all of your problems. They are the cause of all your successes. Thoughts are where it's at, okay? So being able to separate those two is extremely important, and we're gonna do some work on that. Feelings are caused by your thoughts. They are vibrations in your body. We spend all of our life pursuing and avoiding feelings. Everything you want in your life is because you want to feel a certain way, and everything you don't want, everything you avoid is because you don't want to feel a certain way. So as soon as you're willing to feel anything, your whole life explodes. and is so much better. Actions are driven by your feelings. So how you feel will determine how you act. Your actions are your behaviors, your lack of action. The effect of your action is going to be the results in your life. So here's the thing. If you want to know what you're thinking, a lot of people say, I don't know what I'm thinking. Look at your results. You want to know what you're thinking? Look at your actions or your inactions. That'll show you. How do you feel? That'll show you what you're feeling. The first part of everything is understanding this right now. If you want to have an amazing time here with me today, think amazing thoughts about me. Don't sit back and wait for me, because no matter what I do, your experience of me will depend on what? Your thoughts about me. So you can decide what kind of day you're going to have ahead of time. I'm going to have an amazing day. And then you can go about having an amazing day. That's true for every day. If you think this is going to be a terrible day, that's what you're going to see. Don't ever let your past be a reason for your future if you want your future to be different than your past. You know what you have to do to feel adequate? You don't have to do anything to feel adequate. You could just be like, I'm just adequate even when I don't do shit. You can just feel adequate. You don't have to go and do all those things because you find a reason to feel inadequate, right? The reason being that you're not doing anything. What if you didn't need what if you're like, I'm just adequate? So wouldn't that be so much more fun to think? And once you do that, then this becomes much easier. I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm just going to keep taking action. Write down my plan, follow it, be willing to experience the negative emotion. And then you just blow your own mind. You're like, what? We've been thinking I'm inadequate for so long. It's just easier to think it, right? I've got a whole program for it. We can just put it on automatic. You don't even have to press a button. It takes no effort. Let's just stick with that one, right? And what you have to say is no. You have to stop that train from constantly thinking that, because that's where you're going to go, right? Like I wake up in the morning anxious. I'm like, ooh, let's find a reason why I'm not good enough. My brain's like searching, found, searching, right? That's what it does every morning. I'm like, Then I have to redirect it. I'm like, let's find some reasons why you are adequate. And they're so much harder because they're so unfamiliar. So we have to know that the brain is going to want to keep thinking that. So you have to redirect it. That takes effort. You have to pay attention. But eventually, when you think you're adequate enough times, that becomes the new program. Now, if you take your eye off the ball, your brain will take over and send you back into the cave. You have to be diligent about what's going on in your mind. The best way that I know how to do it is a thought download and doing your models. If you're in Self-Coaching Scholars, you know that's what we do, right? Write down a thought download every day. Where are you at? Where's the model that you're at? And where's the model that you want to go? And then you practice. I'm going to do this. I am going to do this no matter what.
If you see that you have truths, if you have thoughts about you, that you want to change, that you want to change the truth about how you think and how you feel and what you do, I want to invite you into Scholars this month. Scholars is my coaching program where I help you learn the skill of how to think about yourself on purpose, how not to just base your thinking on old programming, but to base it on deliberate programming, to decide what you want to think about yourself, and therefore create what you want to create in your life. Some of you don't even realize that you're functioning on old programming. Do you want to change the way you think about yourself? And if the answer is yes, change those thoughts and start believing from those thoughts. Start acting from those thoughts. And if you want some help with that, join me in Scholars this month.